Hi Maniacs! My name's Lyric and welcome back to my YouTube channel. So today marks the beginning of my 31 Days of Halloween series that I'm going to be doing on my YouTube channel. This is just a series for me to embark some of my knowledge of makeup onto you guys, help you guys out with your Halloween costumes, whatever that might be. And today the video is bruises, cuts, bleeding and scrapes in general, and stitches, all of which are staples, I think, of any SFX makeup or horror cosplay. And they look complicated, they look like they might take a lot of time. Some of them do. The stitches take quite a bit. But they are super easy, barely an inconvenience, and they require very little, and they're really cool. So let's get started.
Alrighty, so to start off the video, I'm going to start with my stitches, because those need plenty of time to dry. So I'm starting off by taking an eyeliner pen and marking where my set of stitches are going to be. You can do this anywhere, but I just chose to place mine over my eye because my other side of the face will have a lot of other stuff going on and I want it to be relatively balanced. Taking liquid latex, I'm placing it over the mark, letting it get a little tacky, and then creating little jagged pieces like this out of 1-ply tissue paper. If you don't have 1-ply, all you have to do is tear off a little corner of regular tissue paper and then get at the layers like that, and you can peel them away. I prefer using 1-ply for tricks like these and my liquid latex appliances because it blends easier, it's easier to dry. It dries faster, and I think it looks better that way. Now, if you're allergic to liquid latex, you can easily do this with Bruises. I would not recommend using spirit gum for this. It's just a bit too gummy in my opinion, and it doesn't dry as well as Bruises or liquid latex. And while that is drying, we can start on bruising. I'm doing bruises along my cheekbone and my eye socket because those are very good places for beginners to figure out how to bruise properly. And all I'm doing right now is I'm taking a very light yellow eyeshadow and I am stippling, I'm not blending, I am stippling it along the outsides of my socket and my cheekbone, as well as a pinkish salmon color. Now with bruising, it is very much a layering and blending, time-consuming effort. And with bruising on a cheek, you never want to actually put a whole lot of darkness on the cheekbone itself. If you were to actually get hit there, your cheekbone would be relatively fine, probably some redness, but it's the area surrounding it that would get the most damage. Here I'm just taking purples and blues and blending them all over, and then I'm adding in some very dark brownish gray, and I'm just kind of blending that over my socket. Going back to what I said about the cheekbone and it being affected if you were to get hit there, I'm taking a very light whitish cream color, blending that along my cheekbone so that I can apply some pink to it. That way it really stands out. And here I am just blending some more of the brownish gray into my eye socket. It doesn't show up well on camera. I don't know why. but these colors are refusing to show up on camera, and that's why I had to darken it. I added a little bit of green for a little bit of color variation. And now I'm getting started on my 2D cuts. These are very different than how I would do normal cuts. Well, not that much, really. I'm taking the same eyeliner pen, marking out where I want my cut, and then I'm taking a very light foundation that I have, and I'm using that as a base to put on some dark red eyeshadow so it looks kind of scabbed over. And then I'm blending a little bit of pink along the cut for a little bit of irritation. And next, I'm taking the same foundation, same little brush, and I'm drawing a line over the outside of the cut to give it a bit more of a raised edge, and setting that with a corresponding eyeshadow. And then I'm just going back in and I'm fixing the red and all this. Now I'm just gonna add a little bit of fake blood. Well, I thought I was, but then I remembered in that moment that that was my unopened pile of blood. So now I'm adding another cut to my cheekbone, as if, you know, I had gotten hit there and the skin had broken. And I'm doing the same steps that I did with my nose, just bigger. Here's my blood. So I'm taking a little brush and I'm just dabbing some fake liquid blood over my cuts to make them a bit more juicy. And this was a split-second decision, which comes with its own warning. I decided to put blood in the corner of my eye because I thought it would look cool. Please, if you are going to do this, don't be a dum-dum like me and eventually get it in your contact and have to flush it out. Be very, very careful while working around your eye. I'm using a lipstick to apply some redness into my waterline and pump up the blood a little bit. Just please be careful while working around your eye. It is a very delicate thing, and don't be like me. Do as I say, not as I do. And now that the latex is all nice and dried, I'm gonna start using tweezers, the endo comb, and scissors to make the cuts that will eventually be stitched up. Be careful while working with scissors on your face. Just be careful. Use at least 2 layers when you're doing this. Don't just use one, it will be way too flimsy. I myself should have used probably 3 to 5, which is what I normally do. Normally do 3 to 5 layers when it comes to doing the stitching up trick. But I don't know why. I was lazy apparently. Don't do as I say, not as I do. Now that the cuts are all nice and opened up, I am blending the edges out with a little bit of foundation. I prefer doing this after I've opened the cuts. That way I'm not disturbing the makeup with tweezers and scissors and combs and making it not as flawless as I would like. I'm just taking a bit more of that red that I've used pretty much everywhere. I used it for my cuts, and I'm blending it up into the slits in between the latex. You might not see this depending on how you do your stitches, but I do this always as a preliminary measure. That way, in case you do see underneath, it's not just my skin. And I'm just blending a little bit of pink around for some irritation. I eventually go back in and actually blend out the edges of my latex appliances like a professional. I completely forgot to put brown underneath.
And now a quick warning. This next part will involve an actual needle and actual thread. If you are a wee small child, I would suggest not doing this trick and just doing it with makeup. And if you are going to attempt to do this, please use extreme caution. I would advise testing it out on your arm first. That way you can get the feel of it, because it is very, very different than sewing fabric, because you're sewing latex together. So I would suggest, trying this out a couple of times and practicing before you actually attempt to do this on your face, if you're gonna do it on your face.
Squeamish people, look away. Now is the time that we sew up this bad boy. I'm taking a long needle and black thread, that way you're able to see it, and starting from the base of the cut and working my way up. Be very, very careful while doing this, for multiple reasons. One, if you tug too hard on your string while pulling it through your application, you might pull the latex off of your face. Two, you are using a needle near your face. Please be very careful. And so here's where you can have a lot of fun. You can make these stitches as clean or as jagged as you want. I'm just simply going in and out with the stitches and then tying it off with a loop at the end. But to save you all the painstaking trouble, I ended up cutting a lot of that footage out from when I was trying to tie a knot because it was embarrassing. And here are my stitches all nice and done. I am using my blood again, and I'm making these nice and bloody. I'm starting off by putting the blood on the stitches themselves before kind of messing it up and putting it all over. I would suggest wearing a towel upon your lap while doing this, because if you're clumsy, or if you're like me, you'll just get fake blood droplets everywhere. And then I'm using a fluffy brush with that red eyeshadow, blending out that blood, kind of setting it, and then I'm making the official drips right now. And now to complete the whole look, I added another black eye to the eye with the stitches over it, some blood coming out of my nose and mouth, and I'm adding some eye drops because they are really good for making it look like I've been crying. And I'm dimming the lights. But not before I mess up my hands. I'm just taking red, brown, and a reddish brown, and I am going at my knuckles, just making them all nice and dirty, and then I'm taking a brown to my fingernails. I'm focusing the color concentration on my first two knuckles because if you were to actually hit somebody, those would be the two knuckles that would take the most damage. Alright, thank you Maniacs so much for watching. I hope this helps you in your quest for Halloween glory. And yeah, so thank you so much for watching. Make sure to leave a comment, a like, follow, and subscribe. And yeah, stick around for more because we've got 30 more days of this. All right, bye Maniacs!